try, and if it's shitty and shoddy, then we will reschedule till tomorrow. Let's do this. Okay, okie dokie, Mr. Pinocchio. Is that a saying that people say? I don't think so. Okay, connected. Shitty and shoddy. Let's see if we're even. We got green. Green is good. Okay, let's just continue. See what happens. What's that?
Is your phone sitting in catch up?
Maybe, I don't care. Okay, let's get back to it. Bleeds drop. I think my feedback's the same. I think the sidechain could be a little bit more gentle, so it's not so distracting, and then the arrangement could use some love. Like it could use a drop section, because I'm not fully aware of which part of the track I'm at during any given point in time. Like there's these vocal parts, there's the sick melody, all the parts there are dope. I think it should follow a more, like build up some anticipation and then drop and then build it back up and then drop, etc., etc. But besides that, it's a dope track. Thanks for sending. Okay, we're gonna move on. Let's check out Bass Freak Overdrive. Okay, this is a creepy track. It's fun and creepy. I definitely feel the Luigi's Mansion vibes. The drums are not very powerful. And that guitar, I think it's a fake guitar. It sounds like a keyboard guitar. Is quite quite harsh in the mid-range. Yeah, I would say maybe find some better drums. These drums are just okay. They're not great. Sorry, I'm just adjusting things. So maybe go and find some better drum samples and maybe some drum and bass loops that fit a little bit better. During these sections, it's cool. But when you come in with the drum and bass beat, the drum sounds aren't quite there to back it up. Yeah, I would say that that guitar, like in the 3 to 5 kilohertz range, is real harsh. It's real hard on the eyes, or on the ears, not the eyes, but the ears. Yeah, but my biggest concern is maybe go find some better sounding drums. I think that's going to make a big difference to this, is having better sounding drums. Thanks for sending. That was cool and creepy, and thank you. And also, yes, it's 5 p.m. and dark. It's depressing. All right, Bandwave. This one is released by now, and it is called Break, so please don't tear it to shreds. Also, I like the outro I made so much. Okay, that's a long name. This one is really cool so far. The drums to me stuck out a little bit during the first part. They were quite like sharp, and the rest of the track wasn't. Especially that kick drum. Like that kick drum sounds like we're in a noisia heavy drop. Yeah, I know my webcam froze. I don't think there's really much I can do about that. Fuck's sakes. Yeah. Okay, no more Fowler. We'll just have the FL. Okay, so the track sounds dope to me, especially when it gets to this heavy spot. Now, during these parts, I don't find that the drums stick out as much. It's just at the start that kind of stick out to me. Yeah, I mean, this track was dope. I really like the musical elements that are happening. I like that kind of almost like an MP3 quality thing that's happening. It's a bit short. It's not like it really hit hard when it got to the second drop section. But yeah, my biggest concern was just that those drums kind of stuck out like a sore thumb a bit at the first part. Besides that, it was a dope track. Thanks for sending. All right, next up we got Vamori, Eternal Wheel. Let's have a listen. All right, this one's very cool. I don't know if I have a whole lot of thoughts on it. It's a cool track. If anything, I guess my one, I see Netfelix said maybe switch up the wubs. That's exactly what I was about to say. You're kind of relying on that same wub sound, maybe a little bit too much. And it's okay to have that as like a main wub sound, but to have some accents, some different wubs to play off of, create new phrases, especially where you have two drops that are very similar. See, there was one little accent one right there. It was a little bit different, but I think you're just relying a little bit too much on that sound. So that's really, I think, my only thought. Everything else sounded pretty good to me. Mix, master sounded good. I like the melody that's happening with that arpeggio thing, and it's pretty cool. So maybe just try to add some variety to your wubs and go from there. All right, moving on. We got 10-2. Which I'm going to start referring to as 150 because it's 10-2. Haha, funny. Okay, turbo, let's go. This one is nuts. Yeah, messy for sure. It's a little too messy. The high-passed intro kind of, like, it's just too high-passed the entire time. And I feel like the the supersaw chord thing, it feels like it's still high-passed even in the drop sections. Hello, Kadia. Happy New Year's Eve. Besides that, I think you got some really cool, wacky stuff in here. I think it's more, you got to simplify it down so that we have a chance to understand each thing that's happening. That snare drum is taking up a lot of real estate in the mix too. It's very cool. It's just very, it's just all over the place a little too much. I love the ending. It reminds me of, I used to play this game called Ace of Spades, and it sounds like that theme song the way it ended. Yeah, but you got a lot of really cool elements to work with here. I think trying to, like I said, simplify a little bit. The high pass thing at the intro, I think, is a little, it kind of overstays its welcome a little bit. But besides that, maybe try turning it into a full song instead of a minute-long idea. Oops, I didn't mean to delete, even though I'm about to anyway. And the high-pass intro is just like, it doesn't need to be high-pass the whole time. It just kind of feels a little unnecessary to me. All right, cool, let's move on. We got Swiss cheese. Help, I need a title. Okay. All right, this is very cool. I really liked when the chord progression switched up. That was a nice little moment. Maybe you're thinking about putting some vocals here. I think that would be cool. Otherwise, this little piano section is kind of a little bit basic and doesn't really add much. I like the chords that it's doing, but there's nothing really in this section. So maybe if you found some vocals or a synth melody, some sort of build up, that'd be cool. The side chaining in this section feels a little bit intense. Drums are very, very loud. To the point that it almost feels weak because all I'm hearing is like the transient of the kick and slap, or kick and snare. See, like this might be a better section to drop into. It feels a little more filled out here. I really like that little signy lead thing. That's very cool. I like the melody it's playing. It's really nice. Overall, I feel like the kick and the snare are they're sitting on top of the mix. They're very loud and transient-y, and the rest of the track is just kind of underneath of them. So this breakdown section feels a little long to me. It probably needs vocals again or something. Yeah, so overall, this track is really nice. The chord progression's great. I think it needs vocals. It's that kind of track. It's like a vocal house track. Without the vocals, it just feels a little empty. The strongest thing about this is the chord progression and the lead that happens with it. It's really sick. But the track it's quite long for the amount of kind of ideas that are being presented to us. I think vocals might help direct the arrangement a little bit. But yeah, find some vocals, get a vocalist, and maybe narrow the track down a little bit. Maybe it doesn't have to be 7 minutes long. But very cool. Thank you for sending. And I do feel like this is the best sounding thing that you've sent so far. So good job. All right, we got Super Z Russell. Oh, and Net Felix, Lost But Found. That's a very conflicting title. All right, this is sick. It's a cool kind of synthwave track. That snare I think is a bit too loud. Like it's really poking. I feel like your kick and your kick-in snare should feel about the same in amplitude. You know, you have kick, I think you have a kick and then a kick and a snare together. They should be about the same loudness, but just the kick / snare should have the crunch of the snare sound to it. As opposed to this one, the snare really pokes through. And then there's like this really high-pitched, almost like a vocal beep thing happening that's it's quite hard on the ears too. Okay. The vocals also kind of seem like a bit of an afterthought. Like they're kind of buried in the mix, low pass, cut up a little bit, and then there's the one line, "I gotta pray for you," or whatever it says, and then it goes into the drop, and then we come out of the drop. So we basically had to wait almost a minute and 20, about a minute and a half before we really get into what the vocals are saying. So I think arrangement-wise, you should have a section at the start where those vocals have a chance to deliver whatever kind of idea that they're bringing to the table, then do your drop sections or your whatever you want to call this synthwave stuff, and that will have a lot more impact because now we have some idea or emotion to attach the drop to, as opposed to, you know, like you get that one line, "I gotta pray for you," or whatever it is, but it doesn't really mean anything to us because there's no context surrounding it. So if you could move kind of this section before the drop and not have a minute before the drop, I think a little bit of a rearrangement is in order here.
I try to pray for you, for you, for you. I try to pray for you, for you, for you. I try to pray for you.
Coter, I am in a car on the way to Halifax. Actually, we're kind of like in Halifax now. Yeah, so I like this. It confuses me that we go from like the synthwave 80s drums to... I don't know. I kind of feel like you should maybe pick one or the other and stick to it. I don't know which one I like better. I think they're both perfectly valid, but this kind of feels like a full-on like drop section, and so does this, but they're kind of two different vibes.
Try to pray for you.
Okay, so overall, I think you have a lot of really strong ideas, both musically and production-wise, in this whole thing. But it's almost presented as if it were like a demo reel. Like it's like here's a bunch of ideas, and I don't know if it's the most cohesive presentation that you could have of all these ideas. I think arrangement-wise, that's what this needs the most. Like, yes, the snare's a little loud here, but besides that, there's nothing offensively bad about the mix. It's really just a matter of like, okay, you've got all these assets. How are you going to use them to tell a story a little bit better than what you've got now? Because I feel like the vocals are great. I feel like they're doing their job, but you as a producer have not necessarily placed them in the best way. I'm not saying a drop needs to go. I mean, like, hey, maybe there's a creative way of using all of this. I just think that the arrangement, it's not really telling a story as much as it could, and the problem started off with the fact that we had to wait till after the drop to really hear what the vocals had to say. That's kind of the first and biggest problem, in my opinion, with how it's arranged. Because we got this drop, but it doesn't really mean anything to us because we haven't heard what the vocals have to say. And then the rest of it is, like, there's some cool sections.
I try to pray for you.
They almost sound like, that almost sounds like a remix of this, you know what I mean? Now, maybe there's a way of creatively doing 3 totally different drops, but I think you're gonna have to play with the arrangement in order to do that a little bit better. And I'm sorry if that's not super specific, but I do think right off the bat, you should try to get these vocals in before the drop and go from there. But very cool. Thanks for sending. All right, let's move on. We got sound screen. Horns of Doom. Okay. Okay, so this first part is very cool, very dramatic. Those kind of bloom bloom drums are very up front in the low mids, and I think the strings should be driving this section instead of those drums, but the strings kind of sound like a background element. My next thought is that part of those war drums, almost the sticks sounding one, the ching 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 ching, they don't have any real bottom end to them. They're just like little clicks. So this section is very cool. I think you're overdoing it with the sounds. Like, there's too many kind of like dubsteppy sounds happening. I think you should more rely on the horns and the bwahms, all those things to really get your point across, and just use those kind of dubsteppy sounds as accents as opposed to just having them go the entire time. If you listen to your kick and your clap or snare, the kick is quite a bit quieter than the snare. And it's really like it's how the kick and the snare play off each other that give us the feeling of the beat. So I think your kick has to be a bit more powerful, and your snare might be slightly too up front. Yeah, see, like those little zips and zaps, I don't know, they kind of feel out of place to me. Like the rest of the track is very cinematic and deep and kind of brooding, or like, you know, like dangerous, but the zaps are almost kind of like novelty dubstep zaps. Now, this part is cool in theory, but it's quite messy. There's a lot of just noise almost. It's a bit overwhelming as a listener to pick up on anything except that snare that's happening, you know, periodically. Yeah, I like Kaidia's idea of, you know, trying to accomplish the same thing but with sounds that kind of fit that battle vibe a little bit more. To me, some of those zips and zaps just sound a little bit out of place. And also, hey Robert, don't worry, everything we listen to on here is very different from each other. But yeah, there's lots of very cool stuff happening here. I think you should try to get a little bit more concise in the mix, especially in this section, because it just kind of gets messy. Try replacing some of those zips and zaps, and get your kick drum up a little bit to get a little closer to your snare drum level. Thanks for sending, very cool. All right, we got Sir William Charlotte. That sounds like a king's name. Here we go. Yeah, this is dope. When it gets to the drop section, I feel like your bass, I don't know, it feels a little... Like musically, there's some things that I'm not sure if they're agreeing with each other. It's kind of hard to tell because all the sounds are so weird. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, there's some crazy Christmas lights here in Halifax. It's hard for me to really put my finger on it. Like the sounds are really cool, but they're musically, I'm not sure. It might be like the harmonics of the cool synths. They're kind of makes it feel a little inharmonic, I guess you could say. Just do a quick audit of all of the MIDI in this and make sure it's all adhering to musical rules and whatnot. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these breakdown sections. Like, they sound really good. Yeah, I want to like this drop more than I do, and I think it's just the bottom end. There's like it's not super clear what note the sub is playing. The mix sounds good, the drop sounds, everything is cool except just that bass. Maybe it's too distorted or something. I'm not sure. It almost sounds like it's trying to play a chord. Or, I can't quite put my finger on it, but maybe, like I said, just do a quick audit, make sure that all of the MIDI makes sense, and make sure you're not playing too many notes too low in the register. Besides that, very cool. I enjoy. I like the choppiness of it too. All right, we got Robert T, Sabrina. Let's have a listen. Also, Robert T is from Moncton, New Brunswick, close to me, and he makes stuff with a bunch of analog gear, so this should be pretty cool. This is matching the vibe of driving around Halifax right now very well. So this sounds really good. I don't really have much issues with it at all. Like, it sounds very dope. Maybe the one thing I would point out is that I know that it's kind of supposed to be bass heavy, you know, like that's okay. But I found during one section there was like this really resonant peak. So I would say maybe in the master, if you could kind of bring down the low end just a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit, so that we can kind of hear the texture in the top end a little bit better. This is really good, Robert. Let me play the rest of this while Morgan gets out. Sounds like background music while you're driving in Halifax at night. That's very accurate. Yeah, this is really good, man. I haven't heard anything from you in a while, and this sounds like you plus 2 or 3 years of experience. So good job. Don't really have any negative thing to say about this. It sounds amazing. And you sent more, so I'm going to have a listen to the other stuff when I get a chance. Cool. Thanks for sending. That was a really fun trip. All right, next up we got Retchit. Pull Up Vamori, a Dexy remix. What the hell is this, like the Fowler production feedback stream collab? Let's have a listen. right, that was dope. Production, very good. Drops, very good. But I don't have... It doesn't feel like it has much identity because it's like like it's heavy and it makes me want to rock out. But I think you got to surround it with some context. You know, like there was a bit of dialogue here that I couldn't quite make out.
As a group of juveniles push each other in a circle during a concert. These mosh
Like I can kind of hear those like almost cheesy chords. I love them. The dun 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 dun. That thing. Maybe narrow in on that a little bit. Give us a little bit more of that. Right now, it's a lot of chugs, which sound great and are heavy, but that's kind of all that's there. You know, we got like big build up. And it's all heavy and all good, but I think you got to find some more musicality in here somewhere and bring it out. And not just in the breakdown section, sneak it into the end of every, you know, 8th bar or something. Tie it all together with some sort of theme, because right now it's like a big fucking drop, and that's about it. I think that's all I have to say about this one. It sounds dope and heavy. It's just, it needs more musical context to make me remember it more than just like rocking out, you know? Like there is kind of the arpeggio. I'm not saying there's absolutely nothing there musically, but especially once we get to the drop section, it's just fucking let's go drop, you know? It's just a drop. So my suggestion would be to try and either elaborate on some of the musical stuff that's already in the breakdown sections and carry it through to parts of the drop to tie it together, or develop some new melody or something to give this track just a bit more of an identity. But yeah, sounds really cool. Thank you for sending. Let's move on. We got Record Me. Oh, this one isn't working. I'm sorry, whoever sent this. It doesn't appear to be a valid file. Let's see what's the way. Wait, what? All I want. Okay, let's see if it's. Huh? Do I have? Sorry, maybe send it next week, because for some reason it's not working when I drag it into FL Studio. I'll look into it. All right, sorry about that. Moving on, we got Ragestone, Dementros. Wow, that sounds like a level in Doom.
This PDA has now rebooted in emergency mode with one directive: to keep you alive on an alien world. Running full environment diagnostic and outputting results to data bank. Oxygen nitrogen atmosphere. Water contamination high. It may be prudent to separate work, communications offline. Ocean Planet.
All right, that was cool. What? This section, when the snare comes in, it's like the snare is really hitting my ears hard. Maybe turn it down and bring the volume up as you get closer to the drop, because when that first snare hit, I kind of like, it jolted me. And And I wonder, I'm not saying this is the way to go, but what would it sound like if the snare had a bit of a tail to it, a you know? Yeah, that drop's very cool though.
Endorphin levels low. Consider taking a seat and meditating. It may help to remember that problems exist only where you choose to see them. After weeks without human contact, it is normal to experience psychological discomfort. Treat this space as a home, but never forget that it is not. New creature discovered.
Do I hear some harmor? Was there harmor in this?
Warning, 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 warning.
Yeah, that's an interesting note, Fihu. Also, I love how you did garage with the 7. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, it goes quite harsh. You know, if I had to critique something, it was that it's a little bit harsh, but I know that that's kind of the style of music, so I don't really know how valid that note would be. It's very cool though. I enjoy it a lot, and I do think maybe exploring different notes, like instead of sticking at the root note, you know, maybe moving around a little bit, but hey, that's not really the style, is it? So, I don't know. I guess the only thing that I'm pretty sure of is that you should keep like the real heavy, sharp, transient-y drums for the drops, because they kind of stick out in both build-ups right here. Sorry, not right there. Like it's so loud and so transient-y and harsh, but the rest of the track in this moment is vibey and kind of smooth and melodic, right? So it kind of clashes a little bit in my opinion. So if you were to keep those sections a little bit more vibey and less harsh, and then give us the harshness and the aggressiveness during the drops, that might be cool. But otherwise, I think it's a cool track. Thank you for sending. All right, we got Overdose. ID, please. Okay, it's a very long name. Hold on. Please collab on this ID with me, Fowler, please.
Don't need no problems, no. Don't need no pain. I came for one thing, so don't get in the way. Don't need no problems, no. Don't need no pain. I came for one thing, so don't get in the way.
So yeah, this is a cool track. I don't know if I would have anything to add to it as a collab, to be honest, but my one concern is that the super saw kind of pulsing thing is very upfront in the mix. I think it could come down quite a bit in the mix. And then also maybe have a kind of a mid bass, like a distorted, something that connects those bright chords with the sub bass, because I find that you got a nice deep sub bass, you got these nice bright chords, but they could be connected a little bit better, in my opinion. Hold on a sec. Sorry, click something. Let me know anytime you drive past McDonald's. We are no longer driving. We are now parked. Okay, cool track though. I dig it. All right, we got Onward by Feihu. Extremely rough whip of the week because holidays. Also happy holidays, Nick. Thank you. Oh look, 86 beats per minute C minor. Very cool. Thank you for including that information. Wow, that was a fucking trip. So there's this cool melody. I think that you could build an intro out of this, like the ending, the stuff that's happening in the ending. And don't get me wrong, I love this cool kind of granular synthesis part at the start, but I think you could use this to build it into more of a song, because right now the track kind of has a start and an end, and there's not really a whole lot of like repetition or anything like that. So to me, what you could maybe do is rely on and maybe with the, you know, so I think the track sounds dope. I'm a little maybe confused at it as a song, you know, like it's a collection of ideas more than it is a song, and maybe that's okay for this style of music. It's kind of cool that it just does its thing, right? But I think I really liked these chords coming in. Well, I guess that's the very end. That, and I like the melody thing. I think you should just keep going with it, man. Like, it sounds dope, but I think you should play around with the arrangement a little bit. That's really my only thought, because it sounds great. Always very cool sound design and just wacky stuff that's happening all the time, which is very cool. All right, thank you for sending. Let's move on. We got Nemkai. Bust it out. All right, let's see if I have to sue somebody. Was that a Fowler yells fuck at the end? Yeah, this is fun. I mean, like, I think you should turn this into a full-on drum and bass track instead of just like a, 45-second idea. My only real concern about the way it sounds is you've got that like real plasticky thing, and it's very bright and not necessarily harsh, but there's a lot of high-end information, and then you've got the super deep sub, and I don't feel like there's a whole lot of connection between the two of them. So there's one sound that I noticed right here. That upbeat percussion sound. It's like, I don't know if it's the width of it or something, but it just like sticks right out. Oh, sorry, I just destroyed the mic. It sticks kind of right out through the mix to me. But yeah, this is a super cool idea. I think you should keep going with it. I don't really have any other thoughts besides that plasticky thing, which I hope you know what I mean when I say plasticky. It could be a little bit more grounded with some mid-range, like low mid-range. But yeah, super neat. I like it. All right, we're getting down there. Coacher B5 forever.
Forever in your heartbeat. Forever in your heartbeat. I can hear your heart. Forever in your heartbeat. Forever.
There's something that's not quite working for me in the chord progression. I think it's the third chord. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that third chord that plays. I don't know if it's too jazzy. It sounds like you played with the voicing of a chord and you shifted something down below the root. So like you took like some interval that was above the root and then you shifted it down an octave and it became the new root and you went with that for like the chord progression. There's something that throws me off, and I wish that I felt more comfortable using my laptop with a mouse pad so that I could play the chords. But yeah, there's just something that's not quite rubbing me the right way in the chord progression. Especially when you go da-na, you kind of go to that major third, but it's like the major third of like a chord that's not there. I don't know. I think you should play around with the voicing of the chords because I like what the melody is doing, but the chords are not doing it justice. And I noticed it as soon as it started playing because it's quite muddy in the bottom end. I was like, I can't even really tell what chord this is.
I can hear your heart.
Even like that second chord here is very dense in the lower register of the chord, and it just is kind of a bit messy and muddy in the bottom. Like I can't tell what chord that is very easily. So I would personally experiment with some other voicings of the chords, or maybe even just like pick a chord progression that sounds maybe too basic, like too like, okay, yeah, this is like super basic chord progression, and use that as the basis, and then start coloring it with, you know, jazzy intervals and stuff like that. But to me, it's especially that third chord just doesn't feel right to me. Yeah, that's my main thought so far. You can tell right here, even still, it's even though you're just playing a, it just kind of feels like a wall of synth. Like it's not like a super resonating chord, so I can feel like, ah, this is that chord, you know?
Forever in the heartbeat. I can hear your heart.
Yeah, that's my main thought, man. Like, it's a cool track. I like what it does, but when it gets to that, I think the chord progression should just be almost like a little bit more, I don't know, a bit more typical, I guess. And be careful when you stack intervals really close to each other in the lower end of the register, because they become very muddy and hard to distinguish which notes are playing. And yes, I still haven't fixed the category of me playing Escape from Tarkov that I did that one time. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Thanks for setting. Cool. Let's move on to Ice Kayab, Zodiac. I've played one raid in the new Escape from Tarkov patch 13, and I did very well. I think I killed 5 people. I leveled up to level 4. I got some good loot. It's pretty good. The new sound setup is crazy. And yes, sorry, car stream because we're in Halifax. Okay, we're gonna actually play the song now. Okay, so my thoughts in the order in which I had them. The string sound, you need to find a better sounding string library if you're going to use them. It's just not convincing enough. It sounds like a 90s video game, PC game soundtrack or something. Or like almost like X-Files. It sounds like X-Files. Like it just has that kind of like, these are strings from a keyboard sound, you know? There's a lot of contact libraries that will do very well for this style of stuff, but I think if you're going to be making this sort of thing, you need to up your string game, you know? Go get Cinematic Strings is great. I use that sometimes. There's lots out there that you could probably even find some free tools that sound a little bit better than this. Just straight up sounds like MIDI, kind of MIDI keyboard. The second thing was, damn, that clap was loud. Like, holy fuck, that is a loud clap. Okay, then we get into like a dubstep beat. You know, I don't have anything really to say about it. It's not breaking any molds, but it's cool. If anything, I would maybe want a little bit more variety because it's kind of just doing the wub 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 thing. What I mean, like maybe switch it up with some different wubs or something. Okay, let's hear this breakdown. Yeah, again, we got like the X-File vibes. And don't get me wrong, I love X-Files, but we have better technology for string emulation these days than they did in the 90s. I like the creepy kind of harpsichord thing. It's cool. Okay, so it sounds like we got pretty much the same, and it visually looks like a copy paste of the build. Okay, so you say I suck at breakdowns. I wouldn't say you suck at breakdowns. I think what you need to do is figure out a way of enjoying the process, because I know a lot of people, they're like, fuck, I gotta do a breakdown because I need to, you know? And then it sounds like they said, fuck, I need to do a breakdown because I need to. Finding some way of, you know, enjoying the process of creating a breakdown is going to be key. If you enjoy it, people will know that you enjoyed it. It'll sound like you enjoyed making it. Yeah, the drop is heavy. It sounds good, but it needs a little more variety. It just kind of sounds like the same thing is happening over and over again. And it's a cool thing, but we need a bit of variety. I think the biggest takeaway from this is go find some better strings. You're clearly, you know, you got some musicality to you. I know that you've sent in lots of stuff in the past that has like strings and orchestral kind of stuff. Yeah, I think finding a better sounding string instrument is going to do you wonders in the future. So I'd do that. Cool. Thank you. Thanks for sending. All right. Duke Gray. He just arrived in time to listen to his track. Let's have a listen. Oh wait, it's RJ Koki Eyes Closed and Duke Gray.
Green. I can still recall your scent makes lavender and jasmine. And next time it was downtown, underneath the subway. Summer breeze went through your hair when you kissed me and you told me, you take off my clothes, take my spirit, take my keys, and you can open up my soul.
Wait. Is somebody getting naked in a treehouse, or am I hearing this correctly?
I met you in a treehouse. He was painted dark green.
Okay, somebody's getting naked in a treehouse. That's cool. So I think the reverb is a bit much. In fact, just as an experiment, turn the reverb off completely. and hear what it sounds like. Like the snare and the vocals, especially the vocals, because we got this like reverb that's really accentuating the low kind of fundamental of the vocals.
I met you in a treehouse. He was painted dark green. I can still recall your scent mixed lavender and jasmine. And next time was downtown.
I would just like I said, as an experiment, turn off all the reverb on this whole song. Turn it all off. Listen to it. See what it sounds like. Slowly bring it in until it sounds right, because I think it's just a little overdone on the reverb.
Kissed me and you told me, take off my clothes, take my spirit, take my keys, and you can open up my soul. I'm yours to control. And when we cross the speed of light, baby, I have my eyes closed. Take off my clothes, and take my spirit, take my keys, and you can open up my soul. I'm yours to control. And when we cross the speed of light, baby, I have my eyes closed.
My next note is I don't know if this has to be pushed that hard. The style of track, I don't know. I think maybe even just pulling the reverb down is going to make it not feel as hard, as hardly pushed. That's not the way I wanted to say that, but the reverb to me is just kind of, it's like adding a layer of like gloss to it that it doesn't need. The vocals remind me of something Fatboy Slim would do. I love them. Like the harmony thing, they sound great.
Those days are now over, and you went back to your ex. I was just a fool to think that I could be your boyfriend.
Okay, so I like what the guitar's doing, but it's stepping all over the vocals. Like maybe the guitar could go here. Like you've got this space in the track where if you want to use that little guitar solo, this short guitar section, maybe put it in here. It sounds cool, but I don't think it should be playing at the same time as the vocals.
I was just a fool to think that I could be your boyfriend. Words can know me nothing, left behind a heartbreak. What happened to the night? Do you remember what you told me?
This track has a lot of things going for it. It's really cool and unique. Like the only thing that stuck out to me as like really clearly wrong, I guess, is that the guitar, this little guitar part, it demands too much attention and you're playing it on top of the vocals, which takes attention away from the vocals. Try shifting the guitar part over into this small breakdown section, and then, like I said, just experiment. Turn off all the reverb, see what it sounds like, and go from there. Also, maybe don't push the master quite as hard. This isn't like a dubstep track. This is like a pop kind of track, and it should be mixed and mastered as such, in my opinion. And then besides that, arrangement-wise, it kind of seems like it's a little short, but I don't know. There's 2-minute songs out there. That end guitar solo is really fun. Yeah, cool. Thanks for sending. Very cool. We got our last one. We got Cat Attack Assimilate. is hilarious. Man, this thing is so cool. I do agree with Kadia. Like, the first thing I thought was that the kick, I don't know, it's a bit too round or something. I think maybe just a different kick might do it wonders. This is fun though. It makes me feel like I'm falling like down, or it kind of sounds like, you know, when you spin a bicycle tire and you put your fingernail up against the spokes and it goes ding 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 ding. It kind of sounds like that. What's this? Too much? Question mark. I don't know, man. This is really unique. It's nice to hear you doing something with like a lot of percussion and stuff, especially because we're used to hearing like super ambient. So it's nice to hear that ambient brought into the context of like a beat. I can't hear Nyan Cat at all in there though. Like, I don't even know where it is or how you've used it. So good job with that. I don't know. I would experiment with a different kick. I don't hate the kick, but it was the first thing that I heard that I was like, that could maybe be better. Like it's got this kind of like roundness to it. It doesn't quite cut through the mix with like a sharper transient. I think that might just help it a bit. And also maybe having a bit punchier of a snare to go along with that, so that we really, like, there's so much wacky stuff happening that it might be nice to have a very clear and concise kick and snare to ground it in some sort of normality, you know what I mean? Where you have all the blah, 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 blah stuff happening. But it's super dope. Like, I really hope that you keep experimenting with the style, because it's really fun. Okay, cool. So thank you for taking part in the jankiest FWLR stream, which is saying a lot because I know my streams are typically quite janky anyway. But here we are. We're in Halifax. I'm in Morgan's car, and we listened to some tunes. We hung out. This is the last one of this year, so I guess I'll have to do the obligatory dad joke and say I will see you next year. I hope you have a good weekend. I love you. Have fun. Be safe this New Year's Eve, and give somebody